And welcome to our YouTube viewers. We're going to be picking up the pace a little bit today, starting things out looking at the closest star here in 211 angstroms. We've got massive coronal holes in the earthly facing zone, massive sunspot setting. There's a coronal mass ejection propagating down here and another one propagating from out here, both at southeast and southwest limbs, showing coronal mass ejections. Likelihood of major flares from these sunspot groups 3014 and 3017 very high. We can expect a high-speed coronal hole wind stream in about 3 days from these very large coronal holes. More on that in a moment. First, Earth's magnetosphere. So here's Earth's magnetic moment from space, modeled in magnetohydrodynamic pressure. It's the last 4 hours, and things quite calm geomagnetically speaking, as we've seen a subsiding of a high-speed coronal hole high-speed stream. So yeah, that's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. Let's move to ground magnetic perturbations. Earth's magnetic moment from the ground, modeled in magnetic flux density or nanotesla. So here's the last 4 hours of ground magnetic perturbations, and as you can see, things quite calm here. So not many aurorae happening at the moment, or at least for the last 4 hours. We'll also be looking at sunspots, coronal holes, and more. Again, likelihood of solar flares even higher than yesterday. We'll get to it. Let's let that play through to get it on your screen as quickly as possible. So a little bit about that, folks. We don't edit the videos. We treat these almost like a live stream. If I don't get through the whole video in one take, I generally re-record it. Little known fact, this is actually today's third take. Anyway, that's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from the ground, geospace delta B. Planetary K index, KP1 is the current situation. It's a very geomagnetically calm condition ever since early in the day on May 22nd, where we had geomagnetic unrest. Looking at the real-time solar wind, we see the solar wind speed has dropped down below 420 here, now at 418 kilometers per second is the solar wind speed. Solar wind density only 3.4 protons per cubic centimeter. Again, we can expect a coronal hole high-speed wind in about 3 days. Next, looking at the GOES magnetometer, and we're forecasting some lower readings down here. Maybe not quite that low, somewhere in this kind of a range. And it's because I'm able to interpret the data on the next slide. Anyway, that's the current situation for the past 3 days as measured by the GOES 16 and GOES 17. Here's the slide I'm talking about, and if you understand what this data means, you can forecast the GOES magnetometer as well. Earth remains in a South Pole current sheet solidly. North Pole current sheet showing up here on the western side of El Sol, Helios, the sun, the local yellow dwarf, whatever you'd like to call it today. And you can see to the left there, the eastern portion, nothing but red. It's a South Pole current sheet for the foreseeable future. Most of the activity in the northern hemisphere at the moment. Next, moving to coronal holes, and to see some very well-defined South Pole-oriented coronal holes here as the South Solar Polar Field makes its migration to the north. It's happening right in front of us. And here's a visualization of that in 193 angstroms. Also, there is a coronal mass ejection coming from here, and from here you can see it in this wavelength as well. The likely trajectory of those, well, likely not to be earthly directed, but we'll take a closer look at that a little bit later in the video. Right toward the end, actually. Next, moving to sunspots. We've got as many as 10 named sunspot groups. Sunspot 3014 and 3017, very likely to produce major flares, nearly 100% to produce at least an M-class, possibly multiple M or even X-class flares. As those approach the limb, those are gigantic sunspots. 3014 and 3017. It could be the calm before the storm, folks. Likelihood of major solar flares, very high. They are more likely around the limb than around the center of the solar disk. Over 20% more likely, according to recent statistical analysis by my friend Eugene Bagashov of Belarus. So here's the sunspots in 1700 angstroms. Again, these sunspots are quite complex. They're both beta-gamma class sunspots. 3014 is quite gigantic, each of those umbrae like around the size of the Earth. And let's continue on here to recommend that all of you check us out on Twitch. By the time you saw this on YouTube, we would have already streamed twice to Twitch. Make sure you press like and subscribe, though, on YouTube. Tell your friends and foes about the channel. The most in-depth space weather and views of the sun on the entire internet. Did you know we're writing a paper about the solar cycles? Let me scroll down here so I can explain. Whoops! I've got to stop right there because that's only for Gold Smash Team members. So if you want to watch us write the paper about solar cycles, Become a gold member at smashomash.com/smashteam. It's $9.99 a month. There's also a 1-year annual paid-up subscription, which is actually a better value. It entitles you to complimentary merch. Smashomash.com/smashteam if you want to see us write the paper explaining the mechanism underlying the solar cycles and solar polar field reversal cycles. It's not a cash grab. It's to help enlighten people and encourage people to join our site before we release the paper for peer review. Next, I would like to say Universum Liberate. So today's featured product is the Galactic Federation Special Forces products, the motto of whom is Universum Liberate, maybe similar to the U.S. Special Forces, whose motto is De Oppresso Liber, which translates to from the oppressed, the free. It's on the same sort of wavelength, right? And if you don't know what Universum Liberate means yet, feel free to look it up. You are viewing the video on the internet after all. And let me just share what my product looks like. Here we go. I got a sample here. Universum Liberate. Do you yearn for freedom and liberty? Have you been noticing a bit of a shortage of freedom and liberty on planet Earth in the past, 2 years plus? Yeah, there's a lot of that going around. And so somebody is doing something about it. It's the Galactic Federation Special Forces. So help to fund the Galactic Federation Special Forces. Also give Smash staff a raise by picking up some Universum Liberate products. The print quality is quite high, and the product I just showed you is the active tea there. It comes in some limited colors. It's a breathable fabric, and the ink is very durable and flexible. So once again, Universum Liberate. You can find links to that at the homepage, smashomash.com. Right there's the merch link. There's the link to the Smash Team page. You can find us on social media. Let us know in the comments what your favorite social media is. We're probably already there. Shout out to Smash staff once again for being our social media department and our IT department. So welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Again, if you want to see us write the paper before it even gets released for peer review, become a member at the Smash Team at the gold level. We also send out email pushes for major disasters, like if there's a tsunami alert, we typically send out email pushes for that. And lots of other information there for gold and especially silver, Smash Team level. There's also a bronze level that's free. You don't even need to log in to view our content. If you just click on posts, you'll see most of our major video releases right there on smashomash.com/smashteam. And let's smash our way through some more data here. So the proton flux flatlined here over the past 3 days, over the past couple of weeks actually, and the X-ray flux fixing to go a spike because, well, mainly solar sunspot 3014 has been underperforming. So, and you can see this sea level background layer of X-ray, the sea level background level, the sea background. See flare, it's not really a flare when it's just the background output. Anyway, that's what we're talking about. Expecting to see some major fireworks on the X-ray flux. A great wavelength to view X-rays is, solar flares rather, is 94 angstroms. This is not X-ray frequency, by the way. This is ultraviolet, part of the extreme ultraviolet portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. And there is something going on as we make the video. You can see this. There's a CME happening there and one over there just early this morning. So, yeah, maybe we'll have to make another video on that later today. Next, a star chart, as we like our viewers to be oriented. If you're oriented at the ecliptic before dawn, you may see Venus and Mercury and Jupiter and Mars and Saturn and the Moon all up there on the ecliptic, which is the yellow line, the path the sun takes across the sky. Let's take a look at a solar system forecast. We're less than a week from a full moon. Shout out to all my reverse werewolves who sleep well at night and are productive members of society and generally happy and good people. Let's move this forward 1 week. Here's where things will be in a week. We will have a crescent waxing on the 31st May as all the planets orient on one side of the solar system, frightening people on YouTube and causing fraudsters to put out ridiculous videos. Next, looking at the coronagraphs here. This is the Soho-Lasco C2. And some computerized interpolation of it there on the left. That's only for today. And we'll show a little bit longer scope here when we view the Stereo A coronagraph located here at Lagrange 5 and the Soho-Lasco C3 located there at Lagrange point 1 with the Discover and the ACE. So it looks like we actually do see some CME activity here. And we can see a CME kicking off right around midnight. And let's see what we see on the stereo A coronagraph. So it's not earthly directed. It looks like it's on the far side or really coming out of the northern hemisphere. So it's sort of part of a crown prominence. And shout out to Dr. Erica Palmerio, one of the accounts that we follow on Twitter. I wonder if she's answered the question that we just recently posed, which is, where do you think the sunspot number or the 10.7 centimeter radial flux will be at the peak of solar cycle 25, as the level of activity that we're seeing now is like 2 years ahead of schedule. So we'll close things out with the colorized magnetogram and 171 angstroms from the SDO. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather. Once again, congratulations on realizing that the channel exists despite the pathetic censorship on the YouTube platform. Don't forget to press like, subscribe, share, etc. Visit our links. Support the channel if you are willing and able and you enjoy the content. We'll see you next time from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news.